Hello and welcome to the Time on Screen podcast. My name is Zach Kazan. I'm an editor at Worn and Wound, and this is a podcast where we talk about movies and time and watches and the intersection between those things. I'm very happy to be joined today by Ed Jelley, Worn and Wound contributor. Ed, welcome to Time on Screen podcast. I've been trying to get you on, and we finally, I think, found a movie that is right for your Time on Screen debut.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I don't think we did the big reveal yet, right?
No.
This is 1987's Predator.
Yeah, we're talking Predator today. One of the, I think it's fair to say it's one of the all-time great action movies. Like, I think that's not a controversial statement, right?
No, you've got action, you've got sci-fi, and you've got a lot of muscles,
a lot of biceps.
It's just great.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, and it's a fun movie, and there's not so much going on with time in the plot other than that you will have a good time watching it.
Yeah.
But there is a watch.
There's one iconic watch that we'll definitely talk about, and there's another watch that you identified, late breaking kind of identification, which I was not familiar with. We'll get to all that. Before we do, it's a watch podcast. We should do a wrist check. What are you wearing, Ed?
This comes as no surprise. I am wearing the Seiko SNJ 029 Safarni, which is the recent reissue of the quote-unquote Arnie, which is the analog digital quartz watch that Arnold Schwarzenegger wore in the movie. Spoiler alert. But this is the khaki version. So instead of the black and white, it's kind of got like a cool tan motif with like orange accents on the pushers and an orange seconds hand. But it's still got that little that digital dial up at the top with multi-features. And it's got kind of like a squish dial. It's like a tuna style case. You got a rotating bezel. It's just super fun. It's big. It's chunky. And I bought it the second it came out, and the day it got to my house, I watched Predator with it on.
I think that's the right move. This is more of like a desert vibe than a jungle vibe, which is what we have.
I have it on a uniform Crown and Buckle matte Supreme. So like, I'll hold it up. There's no video here, but audio medium. But I jungled it out a little bit with the strap.
No, it looks good.
It's great. I mean, it ships on one of those like nice silicone rubber straps that are super comfy, and the strap is khaki. So like, you could have gone for the jungle version. There is a dark green version. But I don't know. I went khaki.
Yeah, it looks good. That to me, it's like I don't know, maybe my favorite like ana-digi watch. Like it feels like cosplay almost whenever I put one on, but like not in a way that's like annoying or like too cute or anything. Like it's really truly functional and fun to wear. And those are cool watches. I should pick one up. I'm wearing a watch that's, I don't think I've worn on a Worn and Wound podcast yet. It's a relatively recent pickup. It's a Seiko Orange Monster. I believe this is a second gen Monster. I've owned a bunch of Monsters. I've never had this one. This is the one with the black bezel and crown. I don't know the reference number. I'm terrible with reference numbers, and I have not internalized it. But this is probably the most.
That's an oldie.
Yeah, this is probably the most like appropriate watch in my collection for a conversation about Predator, because it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's it's called, nicknamed the Monster. It's not really a monster movie per se, but has a pretty scary alien in it, and sort
alien
of like a
monster. Who are we to judge?
Yeah. I mean, maybe we're the monsters to the alien.
Maybe it's very possible.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's I don't know, Seiko Monster. I love the Seiko Monster. I've owned many. They never last. Because they're easy to sell. Everyone always wants a Monster, and when you are trying to fund a new watch, it's like an easy thing to let go, because Seiko made a lot of them. They made a bunch. Okay, wrist check out of the way. Predator, as you said, 1987, directed by John McTiernan. John McTiernan, pretty important action film director. He directed Die Hard, which is an action film you may have heard of a year after Predator. Last Action Hero, another kind of Worn and Wound favorite, directed by John McTiernan, and Hunt for Red October, I think maybe my favorite John McTiernan movie. So this was kind of at the beginning of a pretty important run for him in 1987. You a McTiernan fan? At any of those other movies
Um,
mean anything to you?
they're kind of like all of that same era of action movies where like, the explosions were real. And
Hmm.
I feel like they just kind of had like a culturally different impact than action movies now. Cause like it's kind of lame where action movies have gone like over the top CGI. Like I enjoy a Marvel movie every now and again, but like you don't see so many of those just like big, dumb action movies that aren't like Fast and the Furious, which is just like a horrible turn for cinema. That's what we're looking at for action. But like,
Yeah. Well, geez,
I don't
shots
know.
fired at an entire franchise, right?
Yeah, all 10 of
Right
them.
there.
I've watched all of them, unfortunately. It's it was of the era for sure. But
Yeah.
I think of all of them, Predator is definitely my favorite by
Yeah.
a long shot.
I mean, those that first run, the Predator, Die Hard, Hunt for Red October run is just a really great, like, that could be like a fantastic triple feature if you're just looking to like kill time on a weekend. I think that, um, but I totally agree. We've lost something in action movies, over the course of the decades, and it's become a little too easy, I think, to fake things with green screens and special effects. And there's something nice about like real explosions and Arnold Schwarzenegger literally caked in mud, and
Yeah.
he's actually like doing a lot of these stunts. So yeah, we've come a long way, but we've lost something, I think, in the process for
Yes.
sure.
Every day we stray further
Yeah.
from John McTiernan's light.
Well said. Well said. This movie, if you're not aware, stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers, of course, of Rocky fame, and many other movies. We can get into the Carl Weathers filmography later, if we want to. Other key players in this movie: Jesse Ventura, Shane Black, who's actually a very important figure in action movies as well as a writer, and Bill Duke, in a great supporting role. The cast is really important in this movie. We'll talk about some of the production stuff a little later, but this movie was originally conceived as kind of like a solo piece for Arnold, and it was just going to be him versus the alien. And he asked, for a rewrite, where they add in a bunch of like an entire team of commandos for him to play off of. And it's hard to imagine this movie working in the same way with just Arnold versus the alien,
Oh, it
right?
would have been so boring. I don't think it straight up. I don't think it would have worked.
Yeah.
I think last night when I rewatched the movie for probably like the 100th time, like literally, I kind of paid extra attention to how, as the plot progresses, the commandos start freaking out more and more, which
Hmm.
I never really uh, kind of dialed in on as much as with the last rewatch. Because when you watch a movie analytically, you're kind of paying attention to different things, and like you might, you put your phone down across the room and really, really, really pay attention. And it's very easy to not pay attention 100% to a movie that like you might just put on as a background movie because it's great and you just oh, there's that part. But I found it, without the ensemble of the commandos, like you wouldn't have had this great play and this great build of panic until finally it's down to just Arnold and Dutch and the Predator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very important that we see the Predator kind of like killing these guys off one by one, and like the stakes kind of become real as these guys who are they're all like tough guys. This movie is full of the quote unquote manly men of the kind of like 80s action. It's a huge trope at this time. The movie is filled with them, and yeah, no, it raises the stakes having these guys being bumped off by the alien one by one. And it also adds a lot of like it adds some levity to the movie as well. Like a lot of the funnier moments, I think this movie is underrated as a comedy. Like it's genuinely very funny a lot of times, but you don't have that if it's just Arnold kind of like muttering to himself in the jungle, I don't
No,
think.
it wouldn't have worked. I mean, you've got a bunch of one-liners which like might not play so well. Almost what 35 years later.
Yeah.
It's just very of the time, and it's still fun to kind of just you figure a bunch of commandos are going to be telling dirty jokes in the jungle to their friends, trying to get them to laugh, to make light of the fact that you just blew up a Soviet guerrilla,
Yeah.
compound, deep in the forest.
Yeah.
Gotta break it up somehow.
I love Shane Black's dirty jokes. One of my favorite little little things about this movie are his jokes. Just a real quick recap for folks who may not have seen Predator. The Predator is one of the most simple movies ever made. It's a group of commandos who are dropped in to a South American jungle, kind of like unnamed South American country, to rescue a foreign cabinet minister who's been captured by insurgents. None of that matters. They encounter an alien, and basically all hell breaks loose as they try to figure out, you know, what's skinning people alive uh, in the jungle. And as you point out, they die one by one. It's just Arnold and the alien in the end, and it's complete chaos with lots of explosions, lots of biceps, and a lot of action.
There's lots of guys on fire.
Yeah,
Like a lot of guys on fire flying through the air, which if you're into that, you're gonna love this movie.
there's lots of guys on fire. There's lots of like miniguns spinning. Like
Yep.
that happens a lot in this movie. Yeah, no, it's like it's like a core kind of like 80s action movie text. Like to see this movie, I think, is to kind of understand what action movies were during this time
And
period.
there's no wasted time. It's only like what, an hour and 40 minutes or
Yeah, it's real
something.
quick. Yeah.
And like you're literally just dropped right into it, which is
Yep.
kind of fun. I mean, now I was talking to you the other day, you kind of trying to figure out what you want to watch. You sit on the couch, it's like 9 o'clock, and oh man, I really want to watch this, but like 2 hours and 45 minutes, like starting at 9:30 on a weeknight, like that's like a no-go for me because I'm gonna be sleeping by the end of it,
Yeah.
uh there's none of that here, hour and 40 minutes and you're done.
Yep. And that's another thing that's changed a lot with, kind of like event movies, action movies, similar to this. If Predator were made today, and in some ways it was made today, we'll talk about some of the
Yeah.
sequels, and some have been good and some have been bad. But if you were starting from scratch and made a movie like this today, it would be 2 hours like, minimum, and that's because you have to justify the big budgets of these movies with long extended action scenes, and yeah, you get none of that in the 1980s. It's quick and dirty. This movie was very successful. It was made for, I think, budget was like 13 or 14 million dollars, and box office was close to 100 million, not
That'll
quite.
do.
Which in 1987 is a really, really big hit. So obviously a huge success and an enduring classic, I think.
It holds up for sure.
Yeah.
There's one thing that bothers me about the movie, and I don't know if you want to save this for later, but like just as far as holding up, like the sound design is like really brutally bad. It's like they spent all the money on the visual effects and the practical effects, but they like had nothing left for the sound. At several points in the final battle between Arnold and the Predator, there's like these like cowboy whipping sounds when the Predator's
Yeah.
like punching Arnold, and like it's just like whoosh, whoosh, back and forth for like way too long.
Yeah.
It kind of took me out of it a little bit, which I know, again, not the most serious movie in the world, but like I feel like that's the only thing. Like if I were to improve upon anything in this movie, I would desperately want to redo some of the sound effects.
Yeah, it's never been at least as far as I'm aware, like it's never been one of those like, reference movies for like home video, like AV quality, like
Mhm.
it doesn't even like look particularly good. It kind of has this like gritty sort of, feel to it, and the special
Yeah.
effects are like they're serviceable, but they're not great. Like we talked about The Abyss, a while back on this podcast, which has special effects that I think like hold up pretty well from, movies made around the same time period as this. And obviously that's James Cameron. It's a very different sort of thing, but like you're right. Like there's little technical things that feel like they might have like run out of money, maybe
Yeah.
like paying for, like shipping Arnold's exercise equipment, workout equipment, like to the jungle and things like that.
We can either send him a bench press or we can make the movie look better.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, we should get this out of the way because this movie is an iconic, kind of watch movie for a very particular reason. Arnold Schwarzenegger is wearing the H558 Seiko, which is the original version, Ed, of what you're wearing today. You've already kind of
Yeah.
pointed out it's a ana-digi watch. And this watch, I think, was a watch that either was provided to Schwarzenegger for a movie or his personal watch, because it turns up in a lot of other places. He wore this watch in Commando, Raw Deal, Twins, and I think maybe even a couple other movies. You can see him wearing.
Not a very Twins watch.
I mean, what would be a Twins watch?
I have no idea.
I mean,
a swatch? I don't know.
Twins is great. I don't want anyone to besmirch Twins on this.
I'm not besmirching. I'm just, it's just an
you don't need a
unlikely
tactical
trio.
watch like this. Yeah, no, I know what you're saying.
There's no mission timing.
That's what makes me think it's probably just like his personal watch, and he just kind of got away with wearing it, on camera, because you certainly don't need it. In Twins, it's Twins is a comedy, totally totally different in tone. What kind of goes through your mind, Ed, thinking about this watch as it relates to this movie and the kind of like the legacy of it?
Like, first, like, I think whether it's his own personal watch or not, like, it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's like a tough, big, like, feature packed watch that, like, if you were like a rough and tumble commando elite special forces guy, like, I could see you having a shrouded case diver that runs on quartz. You're not banging it around. You're not breaking a movement inside. You've got the timer, you've got the stopwatch, you've got the date, you've got loom, and you've got a dive bezel for timing. Like, you've got so much in, like, a relatively, not small, because it's not a small watch, but the lugs are small, so, like, it's more wearable than the dimensions would imply. But it's like a perfect watch, I think, for him for this movie. And, like, it's cool that, like, it most likely was his and then carried over to other movies, like Commando, where, like, it's something that makes sense for that kind of character.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to think of another watch that's more closely tied to a particular movie star. I'm thinking like maybe like, Old Submariners and, with James Bond, but like James Bond's more of a character, like, Sean Connery, obviously, aside, I think we tie the sub to Bond, at least from the early era, but I'm having a hard time off the top of my head thinking of another watch that's like really tied to a movie star or like particular roles more closely than this.
Yeah, I mean, the Seikos tend to have nicknames too, and like this one is the Arnie. Like,
Right.
It's, usually when you get a nickname, it kind of sticks with Seiko, and like everyone knows what you're talking about. And at least watch people. I don't think normal people would know what an Arnie is if you said, "Oh, it's a watch." No way. But as far as us crazy watch people go, it's kind of iconic.
Yeah,
you're right,
for sure. You just recently pointed out to me another watch in this movie that's not as iconic. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. This is a watch worn by the Bill Duke character that you
Mac.
So tell me about this watch. We'll put pictures up in the post.
Yeah, sure. But, yeah, so obviously the H558 is the one that steals the show because it's the most known. It's on the main character, but the whole time I'm like trying to see if I could spot anything else. That was like the other purpose of the watch through last night, was to try and see if I could ID anything else. And like all the dudes are wearing watches.
Mhm.
Like in the opening scene when they get out of the helicopter and like their civilian clothes, like, they're all dressed, like some are fancy, some are, rugged, whatever. They all look different. They're not in uniform yet. But everyone is wearing a watch, and some of them look like, little kind of Casio or, like little metal bracelet jangly 1980s, post quartz crisis little things. Hard to tell, couldn't freeze frame anything. But in the scene where Mac was setting up the tripwire around their little encampment, I got a pretty good look at the watch he was wearing. And what's cool is it's also an ana-digi, but it's in a totally different style. So it's a kind of a big watch with like it has a circular analog clock on it, and then like unlike the Seiko, like that's squashed and cut into by the digital screen, it's just like a little dial underneath. I'm sorry, a little dial above a digital display underneath that has like a tachymeter and timer stuff built in. So I'm like trying to figure out what this thing is. And the closest I can get is it looks like it's the Armatron 20/3477, which is an analog digital quartz watch. There are a couple other ones that were really close. I thought it was a Timex originally, which I sent you a picture of last night. But the Timex one has like a big chunky bezel around it. And then I also found another, I found a Seiko, whether or not it's real, I don't know, in the same kind of format with the little dial that just ends like 2/3 of the way through the watch with a digital screen at the bottom. So I'm thinking like, was this like a common style that just never really caught on?
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
It's very cool looking. I mean, I'm looking at the picture of the Timex that you sent me last night, and this is a sales post on Etsy of all places, and like the watch is like very beat up and looks like it maybe like could be Bill Duke's watch. Like who knows? Like he could have fought an alien in this
Yeah.
in
So
this watch.
the one I sent you has that like chunky like bezel that has
Yeah.
like big blocks every 10 minutes.
Yeah, it kind of looks like
Uh,
a Breitling bezel with the yeah, with like the little blocks on the
yeah,
that you
yeah.
grip to turn it. Yeah.
So then I found a closer one since we talked last night that doesn't, because the one that in the movie doesn't appear to have the bezel and it's in a silver, steel case. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it's the Armatron one, but like the layout, it's got to be the same movement.
Yeah, they must have been using a common module or quartz movement that had this like ana-digi functionality and just yeah, I'm guessing Seiko, Timex, Armatron, they all probably had a version of this watch with a large circular dial and a little rectangular display LCD display underneath it. But yeah, that's a really good find.
It's cool because it's another ana-digi. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they were popular at the time, but still pretty neat to see like two versions of the take on analog digital. We got the one the Safari, of course, and then the whatever this weird little 80s quartz analog digital was,
Yeah.
which is cool too.
What do you think the appeal would have been to like the commando type? I'm asking you to put yourself in the shoes of
Oh
of
boy.
a commando in this situation. You need to rescue a foreign national or fight an alien or whatever. Why ana-digi? Why not just digi? What's the
Um
what additional functionality do you get from having those two displays? Do you think?
if I had to guess, if I was commandoing, I
Yeah,
would say the ability to tell the time at a glance, like with loom on the hands.
yeah,
So you're not pushing a button, you're not lighting something up. Like if you were in, I don't know, under the bushes trying to find predator at night, I wouldn't go hitting my light up the LCD button.
yeah,
I wouldn't be G-shocking out there with a big backlit screen. So I think maybe some sort of stealth element, at least nowadays. I mean, I know like military dudes, you turn off the raise your wrist to turn on your backlight on your
hmm
G-Shock. I've read a lot of people tend to turn that off because it's not totally safe.
sure,
And then, a lot of people who do wear watches in the field do tend to go for G-Shocks because they're mostly matte plastic without a lot of shine on them. So
right,
you don't want to be giving your position away.
yeah.
And I think maybe something like that. But I don't know, ana-digi, like at the time, I guess that was kind of cool too. Like, we've kind of made it through the quartz crisis, and I believe it, at least for the predator guys, like that was probably pretty high tech at the time to have a timer, like the little timer on there. And I don't think that digital watches, I guess they had G-Shocks. When did G-Shock come out?
I mean, they were available around this time. They were in the
Yeah.
late '80s for sure. Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think that there probably would have been some sort of like these seem like guys who want like a certain type of like tech, like on
Yeah.
them. Like
Yeah.
they carry themselves in such a way that like they want something like really specific, and like the gear that they use down to the watch is really going to matter to them, and not even in like the right tool for the job kind of way, but kind of in um like a they want to like one up each other almost kind of way. Like I keep thinking
Yeah.
about like that scene that you mentioned where they're all getting off the helicopter and Bill Duke is wearing a suit. Like
Yeah.
what? Like why? Like I mean, what reason could you possibly have for wearing a suit?
It
Like
kind of
going into
reminded
the
me of like, when you're watching sports and you see like all the hockey players like in their suits, like walking down through the parking garage.
yeah
It's like, all right, I guess it's game day, everybody's, dressed to impress before you get in your stinky old uniform and start chewing tobacco.
yeah
And
like they have I mean, there's a certain like ego that you have to have, I guess, to be on this commando team. Like you have to be
oh,
a
I
little
can't
bit full of
imagine
yourself.
the team of elite commandos is like totally down to earth and like there's no ego at play. Like
Yeah,
there is.
yeah,
I
no,
mean, you
there
get a
are.
little bit of that between Carl Weathers and Bill Duke for sure, where
Yeah,
they kind of clash at first. Carl Weathers is a little bit, the CIA had him pushing too many pencils,
pushing too
so
many
he's a little
pencils. Yeah,
he's a little bit out of experience in the field, and he almost gives away their position. And
yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see how he is getting back into the swing of things, being fully out on a mission where he's clearly lost some of his edge
I mean,
compared to the other guys.
he's wearing a tie in that opening scene, and he gets made fun of
He does.
by Schwarzenegger's character Dutch. Makes a joke about his tie, and I guess we have to. This is a good time. We're talking about kind of the opening scene of the movie, like the signature image. I think if there is one from this movie that's not alien related anyway, is that like big bro bicep handshake between
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. It's become almost like a meme at
Oh,
this
it
point.
absolutely is a meme.
Yeah,
There's
no, you're right.
Yeah,
It's
it's when two differing people agree on something, you get the thing they agree on in the middle. It's like it's
yeah.
like the Venn diagram for the modern age, really.
It just never fails to make me laugh when it pops up, because it's just like it's so gratuitous. Like there's like the muscles are so like perfectly oiled, and just like it's ridiculous. It's insane.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's everything it should be. I mean, it sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yep. 100%.
It's it's ridiculous. It's just like we said that if they made this today, would it be different? And like it absolutely would not be the same. It worked because it came out when it did with the people who were in it. We had the prequel, whatever you want to call it, Prey, that came out last year, which was great. But it was totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Similar, same, different. I don't know.
Yep. Well, you talk about the people who were in it. I know you wanted to discuss some of the casting choices in this movie, and some of the like in the lead up to it. Who was going to be in this movie? Another big action star of the day, Jean-Claude Van Damme, was tied to this originally. Why don't we talk about that? What's your
So Jean-Claude Van Damme was an up and coming wannabe action star. This was kind of before his career really took off. And I read that he was cast as Predator, like the alien. Like he was going to be Predator in the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not only cast, like they started production, and he hadn't seen the Predator outfit yet. Initially, he thought he was just going to be in like some light makeup with like some animal print on his body,
Yeah.
which would have been so bad. If it's just Jean-Claude Van Damme running around like Tarzan with some face paint on, not the same effect. But he got down to filming, and they revealed the Predator costume, and it wasn't the one that you commonly think of when you hear Predator. It was the first generation Predator costume, which had it almost looked like a cartoon version of an ant person with like a big head on a stalk.
Yeah.
And they had Jean-Claude Van Damme on stilts, and the whole reason
he's not
that
a tall man, Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's like 5'9", I think. So
and the reason that he got cast in it is that he was bothering the casting director, and he'd like apparently go into his office and do like flips and splits and jump on the tables and do all sorts of crazy martial arts stuff. And then when he got down there, he was like packed into this giant bright red foam rubber suit with stilts,
Hmm.
and it looked absolutely absurd. And he wasn't going to be billed as the Predator, and he was upset that he wouldn't, you can't put Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jean-Claude Van Damme if like you don't see Jean-Claude Van Damme at all,
Yeah.
because he's in a big silly goofy suit.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a thankless role to be the Predator because you're not, you're not you. Like you're this like you're this creature. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about how Van Damme's career might have been different had he like, wound up, somehow playing the Predator. Like he just couldn't do
Yeah.
it. Like it would have been so jarring to see that on screen because he's so much smaller than like everyone else in this cast. Like, Schwarzenegger is obviously huge. Carl Weathers is a huge guy. These are literal bodybuilders,
Yeah.
in this cast, over 6 feet tall. And the Predator, as we see, especially in that final scene where he's kind of going one
He's
on one.
imposing.
Yeah, he's big. So ultimately the guy in the suit is a actor named Kevin Peter Hall, who's 7'2". And do you know
Big guy.
what his other notable role was? Ed?
I'm cheating because I have Wikipedia open. You can tell me.
He played the Sasquatch in Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, which is another kind of like giant imposing figure. So
Yeah.
Kevin Peter Hall might have been born to play exactly this this type of part. So yeah, kind
Kind
of
of crazy
fascinating.
that
What if?
this movie could have been so ridiculous. I did find a picture, maybe we can pop this in the show notes, of Jean-Claude Van Damme like taped into this absurd looking alien suit. And the design is just so bad. I don't know if Stan Winston did the design on the original Predator, but like he's, if you don't know who he is, he's the guy for anything in the 80s, 90s and later.
Yep.
Huge visual effects studio. He's pretty much done almost everything. Jurassic Park, Predator, really, you name it. Terminator, Aliens, The Thing,
Yep.
Iron Man, Edward Scissorhands, you name it. So he, I don't know if he did the original design. We'll have to look that up later. But I think Predator's character design is probably one of the most iconic in action sci-fi like history.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's cool is like you don't really see him until like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You get like one brief flash where he's like kind of taunting the guys, where he's hanging off of a tree, and in the middle of the commandos all start one by one go a little crazy, thinking they see things in the trees, because Predator has this like kind of active camouflage where he's like see-through, but has like this vague line pattern around him. He flashes into view and then he goes away, and then Carl Weathers, I believe, is the one who is just like, oh my gosh, I just saw him, it's real. And then him and Mac run off into the woods to ultimately meet their demise, but they think they got him, and spoiler, they didn't.
Yeah. What's the Predator kind of slow not my favorite things about the movie, and I think one of the reasons it works so well is because you not only do you not like see the Predator fully revealed until like basically the very end of the movie, but there are of course those like iconic moments where you're seeing things from the Predator's point of view. You kind of like become the Predator and you're seeing things through that like infrared camera effect where you can see he's clearly like stalking the commandos and hearing them in a particular way. And there's also that scene, that really kind of like jarring scene that stuck out to me on a rewatch, where he's kind of like nursing his wounds from that firefight, and he's got a little Predator first aid kit that he must travel with.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you're coming from another planet, I hope you bring a first aid kit.
Yeah, you just need like basic things to like, take care of your body. You've got to. Very, very important. Yeah, no, I agree. The character design is really really great. Also, I mean, you made a point about the sound design earlier, and I agree. It's not a great sounding movie, but the Predator does have an iconic like, sound
Oh, the
too.
clicking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
clicking sound, which
absolutely.
is
Yeah.
carried over into subsequent Predator movies and has become kind of iconic in its own way, just as the visual aesthetic of the costume. But
Oh, my other sound note was the score. Like, great opening score.
yeah, Alan Silvestri, I think, did the score. But yeah, no, it's another like
Really fits the vibe.
immediately recognizable. Really, yeah, a great action movie score. A couple other things about the production of the movie. So, we talked about how big these guys are. Apparently, there's like a lot of competition on set to just like keep pumping iron like throughout the process. And I alluded to this before, but Schwarzenegger, had like workout equipment like flown to Mexico so that he could. Which is where they were shooting the film, obviously in a Mexican jungle, and so like he and Carl Weathers were like in sort of this like competitive kind of like atmosphere where they would like wake up earlier than the other to like to work out and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So not surprising, I guess, when you get a lot of kind of pardon the term, but sort of like roided out guys, all
I'm
in the
sure
same.
there were some HGH being passed
Yeah,
around
there was
the set.
probably a little bit of that, a small element of that, at some point on set. It was a difficult shoot. Apparently, they were sick a lot of the time. There was talk of like lots of diarrhea happening, on
They
set,
drank the
very very
water.
famously.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they drank the water.
So I don't know. It doesn't seem like a real fun time shooting Predator. And I guess that's the pitfall of the 80s action movie is like, if you're going to do it for real, you got to do it for real. And there isn't like a shortcut to that. It's not a
You're
luxurious
not in a
experience.
climate controlled green screen. You just stroll
Yeah.
out to your trailer in between takes.
Yeah.
I imagine it, and that adds to the overall grit of things too. I want to see a real helicopter. If this was made now, it'd probably be done on a quarter of the budget. It would be green screened. It would look terrible. Yeah, just it gives me like, if this was like a sci-fi sci-fi network movie, like the
Hmm.
premise isn't exactly anything crazy. It's, hunter alien hunts hunters.
Yeah.
It could have been so bad, but it just hits everything like the exact way it should.
Yep. So
Also, like, there really quick, there's like, when this movie, or when I was a kid, I don't even want to say when this movie came out, because I was born in '88, so I'm 1 year younger than this movie. Um, it has been hammered into my psyche that I need the toys. All the Alien toys, all the Predator toys, all the Alien versus Predator toys. And like, this is at the point where the movies weren't even coming out. They were just like, let's just let it rock with merchandising. There's no reason that 8-year-olds shouldn't all want the latest Predator action figure. I was a big action figure guy and kid, not an action figure guy anymore. It was just crazy that, these R-rated sci-fi action horror movies were just like marketed to children.
yeah.
And I saw this movie way too young. I mean, I was definitely not old enough to be able to see this. Like, this
Yeah.
was definitely like, dad's house on the weekend. Can we watch this one? Yeah, sure. It'll be fine. And it was fine, because look at me now.
Yeah. No, you're a productive member of the watch community.
Yeah, I'm a well-adjusted adult.
You're a fisherman. Yeah, it's
Yeah, all that stuff.
You're
It's
doing
great.
fine. I was going to ask you how you came to this movie and sort of like where you put it in, like among other kind of like 80s, 90s, action movies and Schwarzenegger movies in particular, because I came to this movie somewhat late. Like, so I'm a little
Really?
older than you. I was born in '82, and I don't remember seeing this movie when I was like a kid, when I was like too young to see it. I remember seeing like Schwarzenegger's kind of like this that second like kind of like generation of Schwarzenegger movies, like T2 like really left an impression on me. Like those movies that came out in like the early '90s, were the ones that were like really kind of foundational for me. And I think I saw Predator later on, after I had kind of like already like snuck those movies into the house and seen those, kind of like discreetly. Um, so I don't know, like for me, like nothing tops Terminator 2 in terms of like Arnold Schwarzenegger like action movies.
No,
And
I mean that's pinnacle.
yeah, and I'm just kind of like more drawn to a lot of that 90s stuff anyway, because like those really feel like the movies of like my youth in a way, whereas this one was a little bit before my time, even though I'm a little bit older than you. Like I was still like way too young to see
Yeah, you're not going
Predator.
at 5 to
Yeah, like I was,
hit
it
in the
wasn't on my,
theater.
yeah, like this movie wasn't on my radar until I had already seen some like some more contemporary Schwarzenegger
I wouldn't
action
be
movies.
surprised if there was a big push because of the merchandising and the toys. Like
Yeah,
it was absurd. There were so many of them, and like I had so many of them of the Alien and the Predator toys. Um, so I don't know. I think that merchandising targeted directly at me
hmm,
was probably the reason I got into it. But like for me, like I was probably a little bit older, but like True Lies
yeah,
was like
that's another one that's
definitely
like big for me.
big. I remember seeing that like really young too, and there were a couple like fast forward scenes in there. Uh, like I don't think I got to see the Jamie Lee Curtis underwear dance scene. As a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old,
Yeah,
whatever. But you want to see Arnold jumping on top of a fighter plane or hanging off
the
the side of it.
Harrier jet, I think, in that
Harrier jet,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's also Batman and Robin. I mean, as
sure.
horrible as
Yeah,
it was, but that was like, you go to see the Batman movie when you're a kid,
yeah.
jingle all the way. But somehow I got caught up. I really think it was the toys.
Yeah.
And even like Aliens, like I saw that. I was little. It was the toys. I'm like, I can watch this. I got the toys, so this will be fine.
Those toys are collectibles now, Ed. Like if you have any of
You
those that
know,
are like still sealed,
I had
then
not nothing is sealed. Everything is well loved.
oh, that's
I actually
unfortunate.
still have a few that were up in my mom's attic that I recently dug out to give to my older son. So he was a little scared of some of them, so I had to put them back in a box and stick them in the basement.
I think, yeah, appropriately scared of some of them because they're
Yeah,
like
I mean they were
it's
from Alien. Like that's a scary movie if you're a kid.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk. I want to spend some time talking about um the commando team and like the makeup of this team, because we've got some really important like figures in this
Yeah.
who make up this commando. We've got two future governors. Of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger would become the governor of California. Jesse Ventura would become the governor of Minnesota, and then you've got Sonny Landham, who plays the tracker character in this movie, kind of the like like mystical kind of like
Spiritual sort of
one with the
one with
jungle
nature.
kind of character. He obviously he gets his in the movie as they all do. He ran for public office many times in Kentucky as both a Republican and a Libertarian. Spent time in jail for apparently not treating his ex-wife all that all that great.
As one does.
Yeah.
What the heck?
By all accounts, this person was not a great human being, but he passed away in 2017. A really the interesting figure, interesting kind of artifact from the 1980s. Bill Duke, of course, plays Mac, previously mentioned, wearing that watch that you spotted. 6'4", kind of known for playing like the imposing tough guy in a lot of 80s and 90s action movies. Um, Shane Black is the wisecracking kind of like younger kind of sidekick character almost. He wrote Lethal Weapon, which came out the same year as Predator. He also wrote The Last Boy Scout and Last Action Hero, which would be directed later by John McTiernan. Pretty important figure in kind of action movie.
He also came back to the Predator universe,
He
and
did.
he did he direct or write or
I
both
believe
the
he. I
Predator?
believe both. He was the auteur behind The Predator.
Yeah, what an unfortunate
Yeah, that one's
return to the franchise.
not
Oh
good.
man.
Um,
Yeah.
and then of course you got Carl Weathers, who's Apollo Creed, and kind of an iconic figure.
Is a golf instructor.
Yeah, from Happy Gilmore, fantastic, the artifact of my youth, and a favorite movie. Do you have a favorite member of the commando team? You got one. You got to pick
Um
one guy to get you through the jungle. let's say besides Schwarzenegger,
Oh, come on.
because that's cheating. Who are you gonna choose? Maybe not to fight the predator, not the alien, but like who's your pick here?
I mean, Sonny Landham's obviously not a great person, was not a great person.
No, not a good guy.
But he's going to find the way out. You know, Jesse Ventura doesn't even care if he gets shot. So, but like, I feel like he's probably pretty imposing. Shane Black's probably a fun dude to hang out with, but like, do you want the fun guy or you want the guy who's going to get you out of the jungle? If I had to pick a partner just based strictly on am I going to get out of there, I would have to go with Sonny Landham, aka Billy.
Okay, so you're gonna go with Billy, and then I'm sure you'll disown him as soon as you get out of the jungle.
Absolutely, we're not friends. This is strictly a business transaction.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm going with Jesse Ventura just because I think.
Okay.
I mean, I have like vague memories of his like wrestling career from when I was.
When
I was a kid. Jesse the Body Ventura, of course, and he just
carries
has like
a minigun.
Yeah,
he's got a full minigun.
I don't know that he would necessarily like get me out alive. I don't know if any of these people would get me out alive, but I think he's the funniest. Like to me, he's the funniest character. And if I can't be entertained in a miserable
what's the
jungle,
point?
then
why spend your last few days not having a good time?
Yeah. He Ain't Got Time to Bleed is I think probably my single favorite line from this movie, which is full of
it's delivered so well.
Yeah.
What is Shane Black's character? Is like, hey man, you're bleeding. I ain't got time to bleed.
And
you got time to duck? Yeah, boom.
Yeah, fantastic.
Boom, boom. Mortar rounds, just great delivery.
I love it. He delivers the line so seriously, like as if he's like he's thought about it before, like he's been bleeding before, and he's realized I don't have time for this, and he knows it, and that's that. So yeah, I'm going with Jesse Ventura.
We also have failed to mention Ana Gonçalves, the gorilla woman, not literally a GU, not GO, who kind of is taken hostage, not really kidnapped, but kind of like sort of saved. She was in the gorilla encampment, and she played a pretty important part too. And like she just snuck away.
Yeah.
She got off pretty darn easy. I was like 3/4 of the way through the movie and like I didn't remember. I'm like, what happened to her?
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually in the helicopter at the end. She makes it to the choppa with an A, and gets out. And I was reading a couple fan theories on like, what do they do? What does the U.S. government do with this woman who has seen a small thermonuclear explosion, who has confirmed the existence of aliens, and who also knows that there is an American Black Ops unit operating in South America. And apparently nothing. She makes a very brief appearance on a screen in Predator 2. Mm-hmm. So I don't think she's actually in the movie. It's kind of just, they just like show her. I guess they confirm that she is still alive a couple years later in, what is it, downtown Los Angeles? Where they're is it LA?
We'll have to consult Wikipedia. It's been way too long since I've seen
Predator 2 is really just it's better than I thought. There was a lot of cool. I'll save it for the sequels.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, we're gonna get. So I'm glad to hear that the U.S. government didn't just like snuff her out. Like apparently if she's alive in the sequel, like that's good.
No, she's fine.
It'd be very dark if they had revealed that
they just kick her out of the helicopter at the end credits.
Because you're right, she definitely poses a certain security risk. But no, you're rooting for her, and you want. You don't want people to die at the hands of the predator. It's brutal. It's you wouldn't want your worst enemy. You wouldn't want you wouldn't want Sonny Landham to die at the hands of the predator. No. Like it's it seems bad. It seems like a bad death. Okay, like favorite scenes, Ed. Like what are your like kind of like go-to scenes if you're like flipping through the channels and like what makes you stop if you come onto the Predator?
I would say if I just happen to be scrolling through, because we all still flip through channels now.
That's kind of an artifact.
We've just aged ourselves. I don't know how to use my cable. I still pay for cable because of hockey, but I do not. I don't I don't know how to use it. So I'm getting to
Yeah,
that age
fair
where I'm
enough.
like, I don't know how to use it. I don't bother. I would say if it's Saturday afternoon and TNT is playing Predator, let's be real, that's more than likely the scenario. The second where they start army crawling down the
Yeah,
embankment to assault the guerrilla encampment, there's something that's like so cool where they do like the hand signals and then they all start like stealthily crawling down this hill. It
yep,
sounds stupid, but like, you know, it's about to pop off like right after that. And it's like,
yeah,
that's such a good action sequence, that whole thing. Or Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, oh, I'll hit the fuel depot. And they like stealthily take out like the 3 guards that could see. And he's about to like chuck this thing of C4 somewhere and then like looks at the car that they're using as a well pump.
yeah,
They have it rigged up to where the back axle is operating a water pump, and he does like a double take at it, and he's like, no, I got this, and takes a big knife, cuts the belt that's pumping the water, throws the C4 in the back of the truck, activates it, and then he lifts the truck up off the blocks, like with his pure strength, lifts the truck up, drops it, and it everyone's panicking, and it drives into the head of the one of the main, I don't know, jungle tent
yeah, and everything
houses, whatever you want to
explodes,
call it.
and yeah,
So much, I don't know, like they went hard with the real explosions. Like the amount of accelerant that they used was like real things I don't think blow up like that. It was
yeah.
over the top in the best way possible.
No, they had. I don't know. Like I don't know what they could have possibly had on hand that would explode like that, unless they're just like storing just gasoline. You
Which
know,
is
that would.
possible,
I guess, but
if you've got resources, I don't
it
know.
seems
There's no way.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great scene. I love that you pointed out that like that specific shot where they're kind of like crawling
Yeah.
because like that's like the one moment of the movie where like you see McTiernan doing something that's kind of like outside the norm of like an action movie. Like the camera kind of like dives and follows them in a way.
Hmm. It's a cool shot.
Yeah, no, it's really it's very cool. It's very well done. I love that scene. It's interesting that I mean that would probably be my favorite, like action sequence in the movie. It doesn't really involve the Predator at all. Like there's no,
No.
yeah, it's like before we
No, this is
even
before
get
we
a,
even really know that he is the thing. And what's interesting about that scene is it sets up the rest of the movie. So the thing about Predator is like they have a code. The predators come from another planet and they hunt dangerous game to kind of prove themselves as the predator, as
Mhm.
the alpha species in the universe that, top of the food chain, we can hunt and kill anything, and that's kind of their deal. So like when Predator is off their planet, they're there on, like, think of it as like a hunting lodge for their species. And
Mhm.
so you see that Predator is watching this whole gorilla encampment get completely torn apart by, like, what is it, 5 guys, 6 guys,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
couple guys. And he's watching, and then you see, the iconic Predator night vision where he comes down and he picks up the scorpion that Mac had stuck with a giant knife
Yes.
that was crawling on Carweather's back. And you see that the Predator was watching this whole thing. He sees all the dead guys on the ground, and he sees this, and then he sees the scorpion. So you get a sense for how close he was to all this. And that is the scene that kicks off the fact that Predator has considered them worthy opponents.
Yeah.
So it's really the moment where it's like, all right, it's on. And then bad stuff starts to happen. Because they find out that there was no cabinet minister. It was really, they just wanted to get information because the Soviets were working with this South American group to do whatever we know. I mean, who
Yeah,
knows?
you
We don't
get all
really
this
care.
information. You get all this. There's a lot of one of the things I noticed on rewatches. There's a lot of attention paid to this, like the backstory and like how they, like getting them into South America. The like the mission itself, and like none of it matters. Like none of it
No,
matters at all,
no,
because not only is like the mission in the movie like bogus, like it's a that's like it's a plot device in the movie that it doesn't matter, but like we don't care. Like at a certain point, like even like, when you're
no,
walking into the movie in 1987, you don't care. Like you're
no.
there to see an alien and Arnold Schwarzenegger, kind of like tear each other apart. And
Yeah.
like that might be a flaw in the movies. They spend maybe a little bit too much time with with like the
I mean,
backstory that like truly nobody nobody cares about at all.
Well, I think maybe, how revealed was the alien during the initial marketing run of Predator? You know what I mean? Was it like a situation where there was no big reveal until like you start hearing buzz, or were they just like, here's the Predator and here's Arnold and they're fighting each other? Later I'm going to watch the original trailer and see what they gave
Yeah.
away, because like if you truly didn't know what was coming, like I could see this being like really like, oh god, like really, like this is what we're doing, like take a page out of the Barbarian Handbook
Yeah.
and really go for a ride.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison.
We
Going into this movie, I guess it really depends, because like I've never not had like knowledge of this movie.
exactly. I've never not known what Predator was.
Yeah, but no, Barbarian is a good comparison, because that movie really. I mean, I imagine it would work even if you knew what was going on, but it works so well.
I didn't even watch the trailer, and that movie just completely took me by surprise. And I'm not going to say any more because it's still relatively new, but
I watched the trailer and it took me by surprise. But what really took me by surprise even more than that was I didn't know who was in the movie. Like there's one particular cast member who like shows up later in the movie.
Oh man,
in a really amazing way. And like I didn't know he was in the movie, and I just had this like WTF moment where I had like it was so much fun. One of the best things.
Watch Barbarian.
Yeah, Barbarian's fantastic. Future time on screen.
Yeah. Oh my god, how you gonna shoehorn that? That can't happen. Yeah. That's not. No way.
All right.
What is your favorite scene? What are you stopping on?
Well, I mean, I definitely think the best action scene is exactly what you pointed out, that the raid on the gorilla compound is just like a kind of textbook like 1980s action scene. I like the final confrontation between Schwarzenegger and the Predator. I think it's it's a well choreographed action scene. I think it's funny in a lot of ways. I think it's a little
ridiculous.
I think the way that Schwarzenegger gets the Predator to like self-destruct kind of like by accident is hilarious. And the
laughing is also crazy.
Yeah,
it's a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, I've always enjoyed it. Like, I think it's definitely a bit much, but it's like it's over the top in the way that I want. Something like this to be over the top. I also like we've talked about it quite a bit already, but I love like the whole opening sequence, like the from like the credits scenes where you're seeing the helicopters come in and like seeing them all get off the helicopters and like the different like types of clothes. It's almost like a they almost like they remind me of like video game characters, like they're like really
this is a video game.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, and that first scene between Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers, that whole conversation is just full of funny lines and really good. There's a lot more kind of like walking around in the jungle, kind of being scared than I had remembered, before rewatching it, earlier this week. It's like there are definitely like really good action set pieces, but there's also a lot of like setup for those action set pieces where these commandos are talking to each other about what a bad situation they're in and how scared they are and what to do and planning. And
at one point Billy says we're all gonna die, which is kind of crazy. He was mostly right.
Yep. I mean, yeah, mostly right, except for
what I think they did a great job of was showing how the Predator was truly superior to most of the humans. When they kind of first figured out that there was in fact something out there and they were trying to catch him, so they set up tripwires all around them, and then they left one spot that was open to kind of try and trick him to come through. And then Duke gets up and he's like, basically like, screw this, I'm gonna go out and be bait. And he's walking out, and you expect Predator to come in front of him, like you expect him to come through the only gap in the tripwires, and then out of nowhere the trap sets and he's actually right behind him, which is kind of awesome.
That's a really good moment.
He gets caught up in the primitive net that they make with a fantastic montage of everyone using their muscles to pull trees down.
That's
the tree flex montage was crazy.
Yeah.
But I thought that was cool to show that, like, oh my god, like he got in behind them, like these special forces guys were taken by surprise again.
Yep.
And there was another couple moments like where Duke is like the only one left and he's running. and he slides down the embankment and goes off the waterfall. And he gets, he's in the bottom of the waterfall, which is a gigantic waterfall. And you're like, all right, great. Like there's no way the Predator's going to get him now. Like they put some distance between him. Like the movie could end here. He'll get to the chopper and whatever. So Arnold crawls up on the bank and he's covered in mud. And then like, he just like puts his face like down in the dirt and like sighs and is like, oh my God, finally. And then in the background, you see it blurred. You see like a big, like a streak and a splash. And that's where you get the first big reveal of Predator, because he's now swimming towards the shore. Arnold crawls out. He's covered in mud. The Predator comes out and his camouflage goes haywire with the electricity, the bolts around him, or, the shock lines. And you see Predator, and then Arnold realizes that the heat vision is blocked by the mud to a degree. So, you get your first good look at the alien, and just like kind of another like, wow, this guy is like unstoppable. It's kind of like T-1000 vibes.
Yeah. To your point of the Predator being unstoppable, the franchise is unstoppable.
Just keeps going.
There are a lot of sequels. We don't need to like dive like into like we're at an hour here. Already. We don't need to get too deep into the sequels. I think it's kind of a mixed bag. I want to ask you two questions.
Sure.
What do you think of the Alien versus Predator kind of like sub franchise? And based on the success of Prey, the prequel that came out, I guess a year ago now, putting the Predator into like a historical environment, basically like colonial America, in this in this example. What other historical context do you want to see the Predator in? Like where would you drop?
Where do I want to see him?
Yeah.
We've been in present time with 1987's Predator. We've been in the past with Prey. I think it'd be really cool to see like a futuristic, like a Blade Runner kind of thing where humanity has progressed, like future Predator.
Okay.
I think that'd be kind of sick. We haven't done that yet. That'd be fun for me.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Something like a sci-fi. If you just drop Predator into Blade Runner 2049 or something, we got robots and stuff now. We got all sorts of cool weapons. And the Predators will have advanced too. So I think maybe take it to the future.
Yeah.
And we'll see what's up.
I want to see Predator in the Wild West. That's where
that'd be fun.
That's where I drop. I want to see like a Western Predator.
Cowboys.
Yeah. Predator versus Cowboys. Yeah, that's what I'd go for.
Like Aliens versus Cowboys, the smash hit featuring Daniel Craig.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Was it Daniel Craig?
Yeah, Daniel Craig is in that movie.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Good for him.
Yeah. Alien versus Predator franchise. Any thoughts on that?
Oh my gosh,
I love the Alien franchise. I know you do too. I celebrate all movies in the Alien franchise, even the bad ones that people deride. I think it's the story told in that franchise is fascinating. I do not really recognize the Alien versus Predator movies as canon for either of these.
They're not franchises. Though. They're not canon. It's been said that they're not canon. There's a lot of problems with the Weyland-Yutani Corporation finding the Mayan temple underneath the ice with a heat scan. There's a lot of horrible storytelling and bad casting and like peak 2000s cheesy movie. Just horrible. So Alien versus Predator, like of course I'm pretty sure I snuck into that. How old was I? Let's see. It was what year did it come out?
It's all a blur to me.
It was
a while ago now.
Yeah. And it had so much potential to be awesome, and it was just like it was horrible.
Yeah.
And then they did Alien versus Predator Requiem, which was even worse. 2004. So I was in 10th grade. I definitely saw that in the theater. Yeah. Oof. Oh, it's PG-13. I didn't even have to sneak in. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, I mean, that's right the problem
there.
Right there.
Yeah, that's the problem right there.
Yeah. They're trying to like dumb it down, make it a big tent, action movie. You gotta go R-rated for Alien or Predator movie. Like, I can make an Alien movie that's not R-rated. It's just like it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't.
Clearly, it doesn't work. That was terrible. And then we had Predator 2. We also had The Predator, which is just basically we've got a bigger Predator now. He's really big. And And it was just
And Adrian Brody
not.
is in one of these, right? Is he in?
Oh, that was Predators. Predators with an
That's
S.
right.
Not the Predator. Predators. That was actually like okay.
I don't know if I've seen that one from start to finish. Maybe maybe I'll
Um,
cue that up.
It's
Over the weekend or something. But
if you've truly got nothing else to do,
yeah, I mean,
go for
I
it.
got
It
time.
was mildly. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
You got Lawrence Fishburne in there. You got Topher Grace.
That's
It's
right.
really just Walter Goggins. Really just a bunch of fun
great
people
cast.
in
How
there.
could you go wrong?
Yeah, rough though. I mean, I think from the first movie for Predator, it kind of all goes downhill with a surprising bump for Prey, and
Yeah, Prey was very effective. Like it was
oh yeah,
really
it
really
was a
good
lot of fun.
suspense. Like it came out direct to Hulu. It
Hulu,
was
yeah, it was a
not
big
released in
deal.
theaters as far as I'm
Nope.
aware, but like it would have been so much fun to see that movie in a theater. I
Yeah,
know like pandemic and and everything makes everything complicated, but yeah, that would have been so much fun to see in a theater.
yeah, no, it's definitely worth watching. I mean, you can Predator 2 is like fun in a weird way. Gary Busey, and there's a lot of cool Predator tech in that movie.
There's a great clip that I'll put in the show notes of Gary Busey doing press for Predator 2, where he talks about Predator 2 as if it's like Dostoevsky or something. Like it's like the most serious thing.
This was
It's
post
just
TBI for him, right?
yeah. It's I honestly I'm not sure, but it's wild. It's a really fun clip that I'll definitely put in the show notes.
Awesome.
Any final words, Ed, on Predator? Anything that you want to say about this fantastic movie, a touchstone movie in your life that
I mean,
that we haven't said over the course of the last
it
hour?
really is one of those like iconic. I love the toys. I love the movie. I still watch the movie regularly. It's just fun. It's done well. It's just got like a really heavy nostalgia factor for me, and like I'm always down to watch Predator.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really it. I can't say much more than that. I'm just always down.
I mean, I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said. I think
No.
it's a great '80s action movie. It's a lot of fun. Ed, I can't thank you enough for coming on.
Yeah, of course,
Time on
anytime.
screen. This is a lot of fun to talk to you about this movie, and be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast, and find us on YouTube and watch our videos and read us on the site. And we appreciate your support, and we will see you again on Time on Screen very soon. Thanks, everybody.